Hello, my name is Anna Ralph, and today I'll be discussing the first part of my Lab 5, which will be me downloading the Ubuntu server, doing the installation, and the SSH configuration. First, I'll be retrieving my ISO. So, first things first, I will be using the Ubuntu server, the 26.04 version. LTS from the official Ubuntu website. LTS stands for long-term support, which is preferred for enterprise servers because it provides 5 years of guaranteed security updates and stability, with the option to extend up to 12 years with the Ubuntu Pro. This is a much better alternative to short-term releases, which only get about 9 months to a year of support. So navigating to the website, clicking download, it will then start its download. You can then choose to put it in a file with all your other servers that you would download if you ever need for easy access. I will be using the Oracle VirtualBox in newest version, which meets requirement for this lab. The VirtualBox is a Type 2 hypervisor that allows me to run virtual machines on my host operating system. So now I'll be in the interface here of the Oracle VirtualBox. I will be naming my virtual machine. I'll name it Ubuntu Server 26.04. I will then select the downloaded ISO file, which is that Ubuntu file, and confirming that the type is Linux, and version is Ubuntu 64-bit. I will then allocate 2 GB of RAM and at least 2 CPU cores, which is the recommended minimum specifications for the functionality of an Ubuntu server. So follow along with those steps, choosing the correct Ubuntu LTS file. Here you will just uncheck and as I said, at least 2 GB of RAM, at least 2 CPU cores, and the virtual disk I will set to at least 25. So within allocating the virtual hard disk, I am creating a 25 GB virtual hard disk with dynamically allocated storage, which means it will only use the actual space on my host machine as needed. For networking, I'm selecting bridge adapter, which places the VM directly on my local network, but gives it its own IP address from my router. This makes the SSH access from my host machine straightforward. Now running the machine, I'm selecting English for my language and keyboard layout. I'm proceeding with the standard Ubuntu server installer profile. And here we go. We're just waiting for everything to start up, and then we'll start with directions. Once again, so here is where I'll be choosing English as my preferred language and keyboard layout. Also, please note you'll be using your down and up arrow keys to navigate and enter to select when choosing these options on the screen. For type of installation, we'll be choosing the Ubuntu server. The Ubuntu server profile. And then moving on next, the network and proxy verification. The screen will then display a DHCP assigned IP address. You're going to leave the configure proxy blank and press enter, and then leave the archive mirror as default and then also press enter. The VM successfully received a DHCP assigned IP address, and it will then bypass the proxy and keep the default archive mirror. So continuing with the mirror check, it may show to use the entire disk for the storage layout, and we're going to set up the disk as a LVM group. So put that as checked, press enter, and confirm the destructive warning. Navigating to continue and then done. Next, setting up the user account profile. For server name, I chose to name it as Hannah-server and the username as just my name and a password of my choice. And what I'm doing is simply setting up the primary administrator account for security reasons. I will not say my password out loud in this video. And then we'll be moving on to setting up, enabling the Open SSH. Also, simply just skip this section where it asks if you want to continue using Ubuntu Pro. We're just going to click continue because we don't really need that section. So navigating now to the SSH setup, you're going to ensure the checkbox for install Open SSH server is checked or has that X next to it, and press tab to highlight done on featured snap screen and press enter and then you'll see the installation progress bar. It's critical that I check the install Open SSH server now to enable remote administration, and I will skip the featured snaps and begin the installation. So that's what I'm doing now. And this might take just a little while for this installation to complete, and once that happens we're going to just select reboot now. So we'll be back once that's finished. So I'm rebooting now and we'll press enter to bypass the media remover prompt. As you can see in the device menu, VirtualBox has automatically mounted to the ISO, preventing a boot loop. So now we're going to do the first login and the OS update. So we're just going to log in using the username and password which we created before. So my username will be Anna, the password will be the password that I choose. Don't be alarmed if when you're typing the password you don't see the password itself being typed out, or even a little asterisk to show or count out as many characters as your password is. That's just how the Ubuntu server that's just how it works, but don't be alarmed. Once you click enter and you enter your correct password and correct username, all is well. So first things first, through the terminal login prompt, I'll type sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade y. The apt update command refreshes the local package index list from the repositories, while the apt upgrade actually downloads and installs the newer version of software currently on the system. And as you can see, the progress bar will load to let you know just how far the installation has reached. It will take a little while, so don't be alarmed, and we'll be back when it's done. Now to locate the IP address, in the VM terminal, we're going to run the IP command. So you're going to type IPA, which is short for IP address or IP address. And you're going to highlight the init IPv4 address. So running the IPA shows the server's internal IPv4 address. This one being 10.0.2.15. I am now on my host machine and I will initiate the SSH connection. I accept the security fingerprint by typing yes and entering my password. As you can see, my host terminal now displays the server's bash prompt confirming a successful remote connection. And to do so, you're going to type SSH, whatever your username is, SSH space, username, the at, whatever your actual IP address is. Now for part 2, which is the Apache web server and firewall configuration. First, we're going to install the Apache 2 web server. In the SSH session, you're going to run sudo apt update. And as you can see, the terminal output is showing all the packages being package lists being read. And to install now the Apache, what you're going to run is sudo apt install apache 2-y. I'm installing the Apache 2 with the -y flag, automatically answering yes to any installation prompts, allowing for an unattended, smooth installation. And if the pseudo system, the first code on the screen doesn't display the output that is needed, instead then use service Apache 2 status, and that should show what it is that we need to see. If the Apache is not installed yet, you'll then put sudo apt install apache 2-y. Once the Apache is confirmed running, we're going to continue with these steps. First, we're going to check the firewall status. And to check the firewall status, we're going to type in bash sudo ufw status, and then we're going to allow the SSH on Apache, and to do so in bash we're going to type sudo ufw allow open SSH, hit enter, and then you'll then type sudo ufw allow in quotation Apache with a capital A. Then after doing so, to enable the firewall in bash, we're going to type sudo ufw enable and then type Y when prompted. And then to verify the firewall rules in bash, we're going to type sudo ufw status verbose. So where you'll see when you enter the sudo ufw status, you'll see the firewall is currently inactive, and that means the ufw is disabled by default on fresh systems to prevent any accidental lockouts during the initial setup. To allow the SSH and Apache traffic, when you're typing in once again the sudo ufw allow open SSH and then sudo ufw allow Apache, this is where we'll be authorizing the network traffic for open SSH and Apache. It's absolutely vital to allow SSH before enabling the firewall, otherwise I'd lock myself out of the remote server. For enabling the firewall, when prompted, the command may disrupt existing SSH connections, and that is why I proceed with the operation Y or N. You'll type Y and press enter. And to verify the rules, what is basically being showed on the screen is basically the port 22, which is open SSH, and 80, which is Apache, as allow. So now after the firewall setup, we'll now proceed to creating a custom web page. To do so, we're going to navigate to the web directory. In bash, you'll type cd space /var /www/html. Now we're going to create a custom HTML. Opening the file in the Nano text editor with admin rights in bash, we're going to put in sudo nano index.html, and all of the default code inside this file that you're seeing, you're going to delete, and then you're going to just create simple HTML code. However, to first delete the file, it's pretty lengthy. So what you're going to do is, firstly, you're going to press Alt plus /. This will take you to the very top of the file, and then you're going to press and hold Control key. This command cuts or deletes the current line, and just keep holding and tapping it until the entire screen is completely blank. Here is when you'll then add your custom HTML. Keep it very simple. I will keep it very simple at this point in time because all I'm trying to do is demonstrate that this will work. So I just have my title as Anna Silva. In the body I have welcome to Anna Rouse Silva. This is a custom landing page created for my assignment demonstrating successful Apache web server and firewall configuration on Ubuntu 26.04 LTS. I will then close the body and then close my HTML code. So to save and exit, you'll then press Ctrl plus O. This is the write out and save. You'll then press enter to confirm the file name and then Ctrl plus X to exit the nano editor. You'll now be back into your normal command prompt. After doing so, we're going to check file permissions to run this command to show what's happening here. We're going to type ls space -lh space index.html. So checking the permissions, it shows the -rw-r-r-r-, which means the owner can read and write, and the system and others have read access. This is exactly what the web server needs to serve the file. Something important to note. Your virtual machine or my virtual machine's current IP address is in NAT mode, and my current IP address is 10.0.2.15. So my Windows web browser cannot see this IP address. So before I could even go into Chrome or Google Edge to show my website, I have two options. One, which I chose to do here, was to just switch to the bridge adapter. So I'll shut down the virtual machine by in bash typing sudo shutdown now. The VirtualBox will then shut down. The virtual machine will shut down, and in my VirtualBox I'll right click on my virtual machine, settings, and then network, and then change attached to from NAT to bridged adapter, and then just click OK. After starting now over my my virtual machine, I'll run IPA, and now I'll get my new IP address, which will look something like 192.168.something.something, and that is the IP address I'm going to use in my browser. I could also do a port forwarding, which is just shutting down the VM, the virtual machine, and in the VirtualBox, right click on the virtual machine, settings, then network, advanced, port forwarding, and then could add a rule and name it web, protocol TCP, host port 8080 and guest port 80, click OK. And then I could start back the VM, and in my browser I could just type http dot semicolon forward slash localhost semicolon 8080 instead of my IP address. However, I chose to do it the first way. So once again, to switch the bridge adapter, I will shut down the virtual machine in terminal, switch my in VirtualBox settings network from NAT to bridge adapter. Once I start back up the machine, I'll log in and run IPA. Taking and making note of my new IP address, go into my web browser, whether it be Chrome or Edge or whatever on my laptop or your laptop. In the address bar at the top, you're going to type exactly this: http semicolon forward slash and whatever it is your IP address is. And what you should see and what I will see is whatever my custom wedge bit says, which once again it will say welcome to Anna Ralph's server, and what that basically is my custom HTML page is successfully loaded. And here it is, you can see it's loaded successfully. So now what I'm going to do is check my server logs, and to do this, going back now to the virtual machine. In the virtual machine, we're going to type in bash tail space dash n space 5 forward slash var forward slash log forward slash apache 2 forward slash access dot log. So what I'm doing is getting a log entry, and what is going to be showing is a successful get http 1.1 request originating from my host machine's IP address, verifying that their connection was recorded. Once again, thank you for taking the time to look at my Lab 5 video presentation. Thank you very much.